National activists to Gaza. Reports say up to 20 people were killed and dozens injured as Israeli commandos stormed the vessels over 100 kilometers off Gaza's coast. Some of the ships are now being towed to the Israeli port city of Ashdod. Well, from there, RT's Paul Lear has the latest.
The Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has declared 3 days of national mourning. He says that this morning's killings can be viewed as nothing short of mass murder. This evening, 6 o'clock local time, the Palestinian Authority will be holding an emergency meeting, and Abbas says there will be tough decisions that will need to be made at that meeting. Now here, the latest figures we are hearing is that some 20 people have been killed. The first is ambulances have arrived at Israeli hospitals, so the first patients are being brought to hospitals near Ashkelon and in Haifa. We also are hearing from the Magen David Adom, which is Israel's emergency services, that it is in a state of high alert, but it is coping, although it expects the number of injured to steadily rise throughout the day. Hamas has called this an outrage. It says it is nothing short of state-sponsored terrorism. This is what Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of the movement in Gaza, had to say.
We call on the Secretary-General of the UN, Ban Ki-moon, to shoulder his responsibilities to protect the safety of the solidarity groups on board these ships and to secure their way to Gaza.
Now, there has been international condemnation, as you can well imagine, and we are hearing calls from countries around the world about what happened this morning. At the Turkish consulate in Istanbul, demonstrators gathered outside the building. They started throwing stones at the building. The Israeli ambassador and other Israeli officials were summoned to the foreign ministry to explain exactly what happened in the early hours of this morning. We're also hearing that protests have broken out in Lebanon. No doubt the international community will heavily criticize what will be seen as a heavy hand by Israel. Even where I'm standing here at Ashdod Port, there's a small group of demonstrators, both Arab and Jewish, who have arrived here, who are shouting and yelling. And so these kind of scenes, while small at the moment, are likely to grow.
Now, Ismail Patel from the British Muslim Initiative has been on board the flotilla and he has been posting videos online about what's been happening. And this is how he described the scene as the Israeli fleet approached.
At the moment, we can visually see 3 frigates and a helicopter hovering overhead, despite the fact that we're in international waters, some 100 miles away from the shores of Israel. We call upon everybody in Britain to help us to raise alarm and get our government to intervene, because there's over 35 British nationals on this ship, and we hope that the British government will try and help and stop Israeli acting carrying out really state piracy, because they're intimidating us and they're trying to stop much needed aid to go to Gaza.
And we also talked to Rabmela Daniel, an activist who have been keeping in touch with people on board the ships before they were intercepted. She says that although she expected some violence, she never thought it would be on this scale.
I'm quite shocked to hear what has happened. I just cannot believe that Israel can do this, even though after being in Gaza for 5 months and witnessing many attacks daily, weekly on Palestinian farmers just working on their land, I expected that there might be some violence, but to think that Israel might feel free to attack humanitarian ships with peaceful activists on them who were not even in their territorial water is just beyond belief. They obviously believe that they can do it unpunished, like they have done it to Palestinians for so many years. I do hope that international community, that the international public opinion will wake up, and that this tragedy will bring it closer to people around the world, the way Israel behaves. And I do hope that this many dead and wounded people, all this suffering, will produce maybe a better insight in what Palestinians are going through on a daily basis and have been going through for the last 62 years. I hope that all this death and suffering will not be in vain, and that somebody will finally decide that Israel has to be stopped in what they're doing.
Rabmela Daniel spoke to earlier, and we've also spoken to Shamuel Jorder from the London-based Friends of Al-Aqsa movement, and it helped organize a humanitarian mission. He says all peace activists around the world should urge their governments to bring Israel to justice.
I think what's happened today is a turning point. It's going to clearly have ramifications in terms of the peace treaty. That's how serious this is. It's going to impede upon how the peace treaty is looked upon. It's obviously going to have an effect on Turkey's relationship with Israel. It's also going to have an effect in terms of international politics. Israel today has breached, and once again, international law. It's come into international waters to mount a ship and kill innocents with live ammunition. This is unheard of. In terms of them holding account, it's up to all of us who believe in humanity and who believe in justice to come together and pressure their governments to ensure that we bring Israel to justice here. This cannot go on. This kind of barbarity cannot continue. And we ask everyone to lobby their MPs, lobby their governments to ensure that Israel is brought to